I'd love for you to relay the story that you told me outside
Sure.
initially in a very short manner.
Sure.
Just run through it initially so people know who they're listening to.
Sure. Happy to. Yeah, I've been biohacking for 20 something years, and it started because when I was in college, I was really sick and nobody could figure out why. I woke up every morning and had to run to the bathroom to get sick. Couldn't sleep lying down. I had to sleep sitting up. And, doctors kept giving me antibiotics, kept getting worse and worse and worse. And so, this is the early 2000s. The internet's pretty new, but thank God we had the internet. And so I started figuring out the problem myself. I ended up finding a diet called macrobiotics. They taught it in Austin, Texas. I moved to Austin, Texas. I spent 7 years studying it, making my own food every day, lots of fermented foods, miso, vegetables, things like that. If you know Brian Johnson's Blueprint diet, it's actually very similar. And I went from being able to eat nothing, like even a piece of white bread I couldn't eat, to being able to eat anything. It healed me and made me super strong. And in macrobiotics, their understanding of health is that it's strength, that you should be able to eat anything and be fine. And so that was great. But then a couple of years later, I got hit by a car in San Francisco. I was a skinny 32-year-old. I had to crawl off the road before another car ran me over, lie on my back, call 911. And I spent most of 2009 in the hospital. I lost half a kidney. I lost 6 inches of intestines. I have a 12-inch incision up my belly. Couldn't walk, couldn't stand up straight. So I had to fix that again, turn back to the internet, started studying peptides and hormone therapy and advanced training. And I went from being unable to walk to being able to climb up, rope ladders with just my hands, right? So I had to fix that problem again. Fast forward a few years, in my early 40s, I went deaf. It was a genetic issue. But it gets really bad in your 40s. I had 2 hearing aids. And again, they told me well, this is just life. It happens to some people, but I wasn't okay with that. And so I had to figure out the problem, go back to the internet, diagnose the problem myself, find the best surgeon I could find to fix it. Went and had a surgery, had the bones in my ears removed and replaced with titanium ones. And then I wake up from surgery, my ears are stuffed with cotton, and he's whispering in my ear and I can hear him, and I just begin crying. I've been a musician my whole life, so going deaf was the craziest idea ever. And then to wake up from surgery and immediately be able to hear again, it was pretty crazy.
You can hear me really well. Surgery just finished, and I'm just whispering right now. Do you hear me? Congratulations. Are you happy? Yeah? Is that why you're crying? Okay, good. It's a good crying. Happy for you.
And that went well. And then earlier this year, I kind of joke and say, if you think those things were bad, earlier this year, I got fat for the first time in my life, which was kind of crazy because I've always either been skinny or in really good shape. But, as you age, your metabolism changes, and it's kind of inevitable in a lot of ways. And so I was in Honduras at Vitalia, which is like a sort of like a network state where they can do different things and do experimental medicine and stuff like that. And I was there again with Balaji and Naval and Brian Johnson. And they have a clinic there that does this genetic experimental gene therapy, where they basically take what are called plasmids, or like naked strands of DNA, and they genetically re-engineer them and they inject them in you. So I am basically, this is why I call it like Captain America tech, right? So I have these genetically modified plasmids in my shoulder here. They'll live there for a year or two, and they're pumping out this protein called follistatin. And follistatin helps you from breaking down muscle. So you're basically only building muscle. And so in a short amount of time, I lost all this fat, put on all this muscle. I started sharing my journey on Twitter. Jeff Bezos started following me like the day after I got this shot. Mark Benioff started following me. And it's crazy because, when I started doing this stuff 20 years ago, everyone was telling me I'm crazy, I'm going to kill myself. What are all the risks involved? And I don't think someone like Jeff Bezos would have been following me 20 years ago. But now everybody is into this stuff. And one way I think about it is, everyone's always like, what are the risks involved? And my response is, well, what are the risks involved in doing nothing? Because we know those risks. It's 100% guaranteed that you're going to grow old and die miserably. I'll take my risks with the gene therapy versus the guaranteed old miserable death. So, I did the follistatin gene therapy. I ended up investing in the company. And I'm going to do another gene therapy with them hopefully this year. And this one is for something called Clotho, which they think will be able to increase your IQ 5 to 10 points, which would be crazy. I call this my Jason Bourne arc. You need like the physical drug and the mental drug. And they think it could reverse calcification of arteries, which would be world changing. So we are truly living in a time where you can do things, and most people just don't realize it. When I give this talk about my journey, a lot of people start crying, and they're not actually crying for me. When you see somebody else start crying, it kind of gives you permission to let your own pain out. It lets your own things that you've been holding back out. And so people start getting teary-eyed because I'll show a video of me crying, and then they'll start crying. But it's not really about me that they're crying. It's for themselves. And that's kind of what I want to happen, because it's like, let it out. Don't feel like you have to just deal with these horrible things that are happening to you. You can do something about it, and you have to take your life into your own hands. The system's not going to fix you.
Do you think they're also crying from a place of finding hope in science?
Yeah, that's exactly right. They see that this person did something and it helped them. I'm waking up and I'm hearing again and I'm crying tears of joy. It's not tears of sadness, right? I go from deaf to hearing in a 1-hour surgery. And so, they start, that feeling of hope fills them up. They're like, oh, and they come up to me afterwards and they'll be like, oh, my dad's going through this, or I went through this. And I realize I got to go do something about it instead of just letting the system tell me that, oh, that's life.
Right.
Things happen. You have the internet. You can learn anything,
Hey, if you enjoyed today's clip, make sure you check out all the other clips we've uploaded on this channel. You'll find a clip related to almost every single topic, as long as you're willing to search for it.